Hey everyone, what's going on? Here's going to be my Matrix Resurrections review. Now I'm going to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. If I do get into spoiler territory, because I'm trying to explain the story, I will let you know beforehand, or that way you can mute or you can fast forward, but I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as I can. Okay, let's talk about this film. Of course, this is the fourth film in the Matrix franchise. I liked the original first, like many did out there. 2 was okay. 3 wasn't so bad. I was in the camp where I was okay with 3. I like the Matrix more when it's in the Matrix versus when it's in the machines world. And I think that Lana Wachowski also recognized that the audience liked that as well, because you do see that in Resurrections, that we are more in the Matrix world than we are in the machines world, so to speak. I may be saying that terminology wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, for the most part, in a nutshell, Matrix Resurrections is a love story. It is a sci-fi love story between a couple that for 20 years, Neo and Trinity. These two just light up the screen. They did back in the original Matrix to 1, 2, and 3, and they do now. And it's about their journey. Will they get together? Will they, what are the trials and tribulations they face? What's holding them back? That is really what this movie is about. So if you're on board for somewhat of a love story, it's still sci-fi and it's still got a lot of the elements of the Matrix franchise in there. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot in there. And it's, in a way, it's sort of a reboot, which you kind of already know that by now from the trailers and the interviews out there. But it really is a love story. And I got to tell you, Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss, I love them both together. The chemistry between these two is phenomenal. They light up the screen. And without that chemistry, this movie fails tremendously. Now, as I mentioned, that's sort of the gist of the story. Now, if I was to sort of condense this and say, what's this movie about or what's it like? I'll say it this way. Inception meets Free Guy meets Mission Impossible meets Matrix. That is Matrix Resurrections in a nutshell. Okay, so we'll get a little bit more down to it by talking about the actors and their performances, and then you can kind of get a gist of what's happening here. First, we got to talk about Jessica Henwick, who plays Bugs. And she is, this is a great vehicle for Jessica Henwick. She was great in Game of Thrones. She had a smaller part back then. She was in Star Wars, I think Force Awakens, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, she was in Iron Fist. And she was one of the better parts of Iron Fist. She really was. I really enjoyed her. She's charismatic. She's talented. She's beautiful. She pops on screen, and this movie is going to really catapult her. This is a fantastic vehicle for her as an actress, and she just knocks it out of the park. And I really liked her. She really plays the captain of her crew that that's entering the Matrix and is trying to find Neo and other things that go on inside of it. And she really holds her own. She does. And I'm a fan. Let's talk about Priyanka Chopra Jonas. Yes, because she's, married to one of the Jonas brothers. Priyanka Chopra Jonas is, she's in the film for a brief time. She's not in it a lot, but she gets into this Mission Impossible segment of the film. And it really is like Mission Impossible. They're out to do this mission, and it's, and the way they even talk about it and the way they show the clips of how they're doing it while they're talking about it. I was waiting for Tom Cruise to pop up on the screen. Really. It was so blatant Mission Impossible that I was like, I even turned to a friend of mine that I was watching with like, is Ethan Hunt going to show up at any time? And he started laughing because it really felt like that. Anyway, she has a very integral part in the film, but she's not in it a lot. She did a great job with what she had. Very believable in the role. It was great. But again, we maybe get her for like 5-10 minutes max, I think thereabouts, and that's pretty much it. Then, of course, we have Morpheus, who's played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen, and we've seen him in Aquaman, and he is back playing Morpheus, and he's a great actor. There's nothing wrong with his performance in this film. He is solid, he's confident, he has elements of Morpheus that we know from Lawrence Fishburne, but he's not Lawrence Fishburne. And I know that from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below, is that Lawrence Fishburne and Hugo Weaving wanted to be in this film, but either due to COVID or due to scheduling, they weren't able to do it. And that is a very unfortunate thing. And it kind of holds the film back from even being better than it already is, because you have such an iconic character in Morpheus, and you have such a revered actor, a renowned actor as Lawrence Fishburne. He's one of those guys, it's like you're replacing Lawrence Fishburne with someone else who's also good, but it's not the same because Lawrence Fishburne is just so solid in the role. And as a result, this new Morpheus is a little flamboyant at times. He's a little bit out there. He doesn't quite know what's going on. He's not really the leader of this. That's Bugs. So he's sort of like with Bugs in a way. At times he takes a leadership role, but at times he doesn't. It's a little bit weird how they have it all positioned. And I think that sort of makes it a bit confusing for the audience as well. But he did a great job for the most part, and they do reference Lawrence Fishburne, mind you. They do reference the original Morpheus, but you miss him. You really do miss Fishburne in this role. It does take you a little bit out of it. This also goes with Agent Smith, played by Jonathan Groff. Now, here's the thing about this film where it could have been even better. Is with any great film, right? With the original Matrix all the way to the third Matrix film, you always had a very strong antagonist. That was Hugo Weaving as Agent Smith. He was so solid. His performance was epic. I mean, hello, Mr. Anderson. How many people do this to this day after so many years? It was iconic. And Jonathan Groff plays Agent Smith. And in this Matrix, okay, this may be a spoiler, so if you want to skip, you can skip it. I just have to explain this portion of it so you understand. This video is brought to you by Secret Lab. Here at Geek Culture, we love our Secret Lab chairs, especially the all-new 2022 Titan Evo with its revamped 4-way lumbar system for enhanced back support. If P Leather 2.0 isn't your cup of tea, then consider the all-new Soft Weave, even more soft and breathable than before. The chair comes in more colors, including this lovely frost blue. The Titan Evo is even magnetized, allowing the head pillow to stick on the headrest without straps. Of course, there are even more new features, so do check them out at secretlab.co. In this world, Neo or Agent Smith or whatever the case may be, they will look different in this Matrix, but we see them as the audience, as the character per se, except Agent Smith because he's not played by Hugo Weaving, but they do reference Hugo Weaving. So it's a little bit confusing at times. But without Hugo Weaving, who's so strong in this role, this Agent Smith character, it loses a little bit of that impact, and you lose that strong antagonist. Now, they did try to supplement this with another antagonist in the film, which I'm not going to give away because that will be a big spoiler. But it's not as strong as Agent Smith, and this character really just, I don't know, I felt he was miscast. I'll just put it that way. Anyway, let's move on to Neil Patrick Harris, who plays the analyst or the psychiatrist that we've seen in many of the trailers. And his role is very interesting. I mean, this is a very deep role, and it's, in a sense, I think we've got from the trailers that he's trying to keep Thomas Anderson in the Matrix. We do see him taking the blue pills. We do see him prescribing these blue pills. So you kind of get a sense that he's really controlling Thomas Anderson. And they've taken a different approach with Anderson versus how that was in the original Matrix movies. I think they try to learn their lesson, so to speak. But he's great as the psychiatrist. Neil Patrick Harris is great in that. But his character does evolve a little bit. And when it does evolve, it takes an interesting turn. And I don't know, he's great actor, phenomenal performance, but I don't know if it actually rises to the level of what we need it to be in the film. I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to spoil too much for you. But very cool to see Neil Patrick Harris in anyway. I've always been a fan from the Doogie Howser days. That's how I knew him anyway. Let's talk about the two big stars, Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss. Let's go with Carrie-Anne Moss first. Okay, I like many guys probably, when we first saw the Matrix and 2 and 3, we fell in love with Carrie-Anne Moss as Trinity, and I absolutely loved her back then, and I love her now. I even liked her in Jessica Jones. I'm a big fan of Carrie-Anne Moss. I think she's a fantastic talent, beautiful woman, but just very, very talented. And she just comes guns a-blazing in this role. She's so good in it. She's so good in it. It really is. She doesn't miss a beat, you know? Yes, you do see the age coming up on both Keanu and Carrie-Anne Moss. I mean, can she do all the crazy stunts that she once did? Not as quite as fluid as Trinity in the years past, but she holds her own really well. She just lights up on screen. You know, I had a crush on her back on The Matrix, and I had my crushes resurged, and I'm a big fan. Anyway, she comes in this role I can't talk much about her character in this because that gives away a lot of the film. So I'm not going to do that. But I will say that she rises to the occasion in more ways than one. Keanu Reeves. Let's talk about Keanu Reeves. Thomas Anderson for a lot of the film. And as you can see, you did see some of the trailer. He does get into his Neo-esque form. But yeah. When we watch The Matrix and Neo, we want to see Neo really kick a lot of ass. And you see some of it in the trailers, and you see some of it, and when he does his interviews and they show some clips. And he does a really good job. I mean, hell, he's John Wick, right? Keanu Reeves can still fight. And he does a pretty damn good job in this. But you may walk out of this wanting more from the character Neo. I'll just leave it at that. I will just leave it at that. I can't say anything more to spoil for you. But I wanted to see Neo as Neo, but it isn't Neo as we know Neo 100%. It's kind of like 70-80% of Neo. So that's all I can say right now. Maybe I'll do a review where I can spoil the whole film and we can talk more about it. But nonetheless, as I mentioned earlier in this video, I mean, Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss together are phenomenal. I mean, the way they look at each other's eyes, it's kind of right. You know what it reminded me of? If we put in just more, current movie context, is like Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, like when they, on the Academy Awards, when they were singing together and that chemistry and everybody thought, okay, these two are really dating. That's how these two look on screen. There is a fire in between these two that just is undeniable. And Lana Wachowski captured that beautifully. And it really made the film better without, if it didn't have that, the film would not really be that good at all. So my final thoughts on Matrix Resurrections. I enjoyed it. I wasn't wowed by the film. I thought it was a very nice love story. I did, as I mentioned earlier, feel that there was not a proper antagonist to really match Neo and the journey with Trinity and all that kind of stuff to really match that storyline. And as a result, it fell flat in that regard. Some of the exposition parts were a little bit draggy, and at times I was fidgeting in the seat going, okay, I've been there, done that. Let's move on. But I think it's a fun film. And if you're a Matrix fan, it's definitely a must watch. I mean, if you're a little bit worried about going into the cinema right now, if you're in America, you can watch it on HBO Max on the same date. And I would say you can definitely enjoy it on HBO Max. Of course, it's great to see it in IMAX or see it on a big screen because of the sound and the visuals. I mean, it's just a beautifully made film. But if you're worried, you're not going to miss too much by watching on HBO Max. Anyway, those are my thoughts on it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like always, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. Be safe out there and have a Merry Christmas. And I'll chat to you soon. Take care.